So we've talked a little bit about pencil weight, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it today. I'm going to show you. So I have a 2B pencil here, a 4B, a 6B, and an 8B. So the 2B is sort of just like your regular weight pencil, right? If you remember, as you get higher in number, and the B's, they start to be, to be or not to be, they start to get darker and heavier in weight. So they mean they're blend a little bit easier. Now when we start talking about blending with your pencils, you really want to start thinking about the weight of your pencils, because we'll start using more of these in order to get more value. And the reason we want to start thinking about value is because value starts to equal form, and that allows us to, form allows us to get that like illusion of 3D-ness, right? So we start to get that like sense of realism. Everything doesn't look so flat. But when we are blending, it's a really good time to start bringing in these blending sticks. And blending sticks come in a variety of sizes. You can get really small ones, you can get medium ones, you can even get really, really big ones. But these allow us to move the material a little easier, and they allow us to not have to use our fingers. And one reason we want to use these instead of our fingers is because our fingers have a whole bunch of oil in them. And if we are using our fingers all the time, we are pushing all that oil into the medium. And eventually it'll make the medium look really dull. And so by using this, not only are you not getting your hands quite as dirty, but you're also not pushing all of your oily skin into the paper. So your drawing will just look a little bit nicer. These can get super dirty. So if they get dirty, you can take your kneaded eraser and then you can sort of clean them off like this with just your kneaded eraser. If you want to, that gets them a little clean. Or if they're super dirty, you can take a little bit of sandpaper and kind of literally just sand off the dust. You can see it kind of coming off on my, because it's just paper, and so you're just like sanding off a real light layer of the paper, and then it's a little easier to blend. So when I start, I'm just going to make like a gradient blend. I like to start with my heavier pencils. So I either start with a 6B or an 8B and blend out. Because blending is all about pressure and density of your pencil, okay? Now, so I'm going to start with my 8B. Checking my numbers. And just to make like a gradient blend, I'm just going to kind of put some pencil down here, just to see where I'm at. And I'm just using like a mid-tone pressure, nothing too heavy, just sort of regular old pencil weight, I guess. And then I'm going to use my blending stick and just sort of blend that out to kind of from my darkest to my lightest to see how far that will blend. So you can see as I blend this, I can blend it a lot and really soften it. I can blend it a little bit and still have some texture in how I put where I put the pencil on, but I'm just sort of blending it out to see how far that pencil carries. And even as I blend it a little bit, you can see that I start to get sort of gradients, right? But as I do this, I will maybe want something much more darker here. So I can take my 8B and like start to add a little bit to make an even darker area and really layer that up. And then if I need to, I can like blend that together a little bit to help gradient that out. And then like down here, right, I might need something that's a little darker, but not like super dark. So I might somewhere in here take my 4B and add a little bit of value, but I might need to use a little less pressure so I'm not getting quite as much graphite on the paper. And I'm just adding in a little value here to kind of continue my line, continue my value strip. And then I'll go ahead and sort of blend that out. Now if this kind of gets to all be the same gray, you can always take your eraser and take a little bit off to lighten it, because I'm using like a real light pressure to erase a little bit. Or you can take, you know, maybe your 6B with a lighter pressure. So it's all about layering and adjusting. So I guess pressure, density, and layering to get layering. Is that how I spell layering? To get the value that you want and the value that you need. And you're just adjusting, blending, layering in order to get that sort of smooth gradient, or even just the value that you want. So I can tell in here, if I want it to be smoother, I'm going to need a little more value. But I might not want to, you know, but it just kind of keeps going with it. Yeah, you can use blending sticks. You can use a paper towel to blend. You can also use, particularly when we start using vine charcoal and charcoal. This is a chamois. My chamois is super dirty, but you can also use a chamois when you're using graphite to help blend it. It softens it a little. Paper towels work. You can use your fingers, but it, yeah, the oils in your fingers will just come off onto it, which, you know, is a look, but it's not ideal. So if you, say you are, you know, doing something with value. So this has value, right? Different values. It also has forms because it has that three-dimensional look. When I shade something like this, I'm always going to start with the darkest, because what that allows me to do is it allows me to kind of get this darkest value in, and then I can shade out from there so that I don't have to worry about being so careful with my lightest values, because my darkest values, I can carry those out and they will sort of make some of those lighter values. So if I was shading that sphere, I'm just kind of going to do it from memory, but I would like do the darkest value of the sphere. I'm using an 8B here. And I would get that sort of nice and dark. And then by using your blending stump or paper towel or whatever you prefer, you could blend this out and soften this. In order to get the rest of my shape. Now, granted, sometimes you're going to have to add some more graphite or whatever you're using. You won't necessarily have to have it, you won't necessarily get it all done with just this one application. So I'm going to add a little 4B up here. I also really like to draw on the sides of my pencils. Normally I would sharpen these with an X-Acto knife, but this is just what I have right now. Just so I can draw on the sides of my pencils a little easier. And it just allows me to sort of, now this was where my highlight was, so I just left that white for right now. I'm not so worried about putting any medium there. It just gives me a chance to get all those values in. Now here I see I need a little darker, so I adjust it. Really get that dark through the end there, really adding a lot of pressure. And then I'm going to add my, this is also very dark. So you're just sort of looking, adjusting, adding where needed. And blending. Questions on that? There's a few more values in there. And then instead of drawing a line, right, around your form in order to make it pop out, it's always better to try and shade around your form and get a value around your form, as opposed to drawing a contour line, because that'll just help it pop out a little easier, because lines will flatten, whereas values will give the illusion of form. I'm going to talk about charcoal as well. One other thing, if you wanted to like clean it up or shape it, you could also use your plastic eraser, or if you bought the kit, you also have a stick eraser that also works really well for graphite. So this is all graphite tools. Ready? So with charcoal, charcoal is very similar, except for you have 3 weights of charcoal. So you have soft charcoal. So your soft charcoal is like what you want to start with. It's super blendable, super dark. It's the easiest to move around on your page. You have your medium charcoal, and you have your hard charcoal. And your hard charcoal is used for like details, really layering, really getting, you know, if you're drawing like a cat, really getting like mark making in for the hair or something like that. But you always want to start with your soft charcoal when you're blending, just because you can like move it the most, but it's the same idea where you're just sort of like getting that base value and then blending it out. I always keep different blending sticks for my graphite and my charcoal, just because the charcoal gets them so much dirtier. But you know, that's just me. And you can use paper towel, you can use blending sticks. The chamois comes in really handy here with charcoal, but it also takes a lot of the charcoal off. It's actually really good for erasing charcoal. one just because it's a little bigger here. But this is it blends a little faster than your graphite, so you can move it around a little quicker. But it's the same general idea where you're thinking about density, you're thinking about layering, you're thinking about adding to control, sort of layering up. If you need something that's really dark, or you really want to add in like another layer of charcoal, you can use like your hard charcoal. So your hard charcoal, I can really come in down here and add like a super dark value if I needed to, because it's going to be able to stay on top and it's not going to blend. It'll blend, but it's not going to blend quite as much. So it allows me to get like a deeper, darker color on top of that softer charcoal. And then your medium charcoal kind of sits somewhere in between. But your soft charcoal is always going to blend the most and give you the most range. I'm just adding a little more soft charcoal here. So I always like to start with the soft charcoal and then adjust with the medium and the dark. But it's the same general idea where you're thinking about, so in here, you would start with like the extra soft, just to get sort of like the main idea of your shape, right? And sort of blend that out. Because what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to get like your midtones. By using this sort of starting material that you've put on, it's going to allow you to sort of draw with it by manipulating it, because charcoal it's very malleable and it allows you to sort of play with it while you're using it. And the nice thing about these is you can use them on the side or you can use them on the tip. And you can tell right now that mine has like quite a bit of material in it. So it might be a good time to like take my kneaded eraser and sort of erase it off, just so I'm not always moving charcoal that's already in my stick, I guess. So I'm gonna leave a little white there for the highlight. If you get it a little too dark, you can always come in here with your kneaded eraser and take a little off. So you're erasing back into it. You can shape it a little bit with your kneaded eraser. If you need it to be darker, you can go back in with your medium or hard and add a little bit to it, because that's going to darken it up, give you another layer. So it's about the layering aspect of it. Give me some more different gradients, because you want to try and have a whole range of value. So it's just giving me choices, right, in order to get the shadows and the light and the values that I need.